And now, almost live from the secret hidden bunker in the Rocky Mountains and Dragon House Studios, it's time for Triggered, and I'm your host, Michael Bain. When it comes to shooting, sometimes it really is all about the fun. I've spent a lot of time recently with Taurus revolvers, and today I wanted to show you something from the Heritage line, another one of the Taurus companies. It's based on a single action revolver, although in this case it's a single action revolver that's not a revolver but a rifle. This is the Heritage Rough Rider Rancher. It is a 6-shot, 22 long rifle, single action, walnut stock, 16-inch barrel, and hey, a buckhorn sight just like you'd see on a rifle and a bronze bead up front. Also comes with this really nice leather sling, great piece of wood. But you're looking at this going, that's a little odd. What's it for? Well, there's a certain nostalgia element involved in it. The very first American repeaters were, in fact, revolving rifles. Sam Colt made his first ones in the mid-1830s, and they continued making them all the way through the Civil War. Very popular with Pony Express riders, oddly enough. But I think what this rifle is really good for is plinking, and plinking is something none of us do enough of. It harkens back to Saturday afternoon stalking the dread tin cans, or imagining somewhere a safari for squirrels, or into your neighbor's field hunting for rabbits. It's a gun that's simply fun to shoot. You take one look at it, you shoulder it, and you're hooked. You're going to have fun. And believe me, in a year like this, we need more fun. Okay, I do have to admit something. Ever since I was a kid, I've had a thing for revolving rifles. It's probably from the movies. What, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, the Lee Van Cleef character? Is that who I'm thinking about? But in many of the Westerns, you saw them with revolving rifles. And the first time I saw them, I said, wow, that would be so great. I don't understand why everybody in the world doesn't make a bunch of revolving rifles. Because when I was a kid, remember, single actions had just been invented. No, that's not true. But lots of people made single actions. And I thought, this is an obvious extension of the line. As I learned more about guns, I really understood exactly why they didn't do it. And that's because this little guy right here, there is a gap between the cylinder and the barrel. And when you fire this gun, when you fire any revolver, flame comes out the side. Hot gases are blown out the side. And what would happen with these revolving rifles is that people would say, hey, this is really great. I shouldered it, feels good. I put my hand right here, bang, what happens? Well, pieces of my finger are lying on the ground, rolling around like dead slugs is what happens. Probably with a 22, that's not going to actually cut your finger off, but it's going to hurt a lot. Any of the revolving rifles have to be treated pretty carefully. And Heritage thought of that. Heritage, by the way, does a whole line of single actions, both 22 and the centerfire's 357s, 45 Colt. On this gun, on the Rancher, they said, hey, we'll put a little hook right here on the trigger guard. First time I saw that, it really struck me of the Smith & Wesson top break Russians, right? Where it has a hook on the trigger guard, which is lost somehow in history why they put it there. A lot of people speculated that the Russians really wanted to have a nice place to put their index finger in case they wanted to shoot somebody a bird. Or, more likely, they wore sashes. The Russian officers had sashes. And they would take these Smith & Wesson Russian revolvers, stick them in the sash, and this hook would hold them in place. Well, this isn't for the sash. This is to make shooting the Rancher easy and safe. It gives you a place to put your weak hand. So when you come up to shoulder, weak hand goes here. This finger, your index finger on your weak hand, your off hand, hooks right in here, and then you have a grip that allows you to clamp down on this gun. It's a very sturdy grip. It doesn't weigh very much at all. I think it's like 66 ounces, something like that. But it cheeks right. The buckhorn sight is right there. You can pull down really tightly with this clamp grip, much like you can on a pistol. And with a .22, it's totally easy to shoot. Now, when we come back, a couple of things I want to talk to you and point out on this gun, but on the whole, come on, you love it so far. We'll be right back.
The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. It's true, you can't avoid the struggle. It's coming. But you can control your precision. It's time to put it all on the line. Because with Crimson Trace Optics, failure is not an option.
Welcome back to Triggered with the Heritage Rough Rider Rancher carbine rifle. Not a pistol, but it revolves. A couple of things I wanted to show you here right off is for all you SAS guys, cowboy action shooters, as you've noted, if this is your grip here, it's going to make it really hard to run the rifle. It wasn't made to be run that way. You're going to thumb cock it with your strong hand. The other thing that's different on these guns, and these are very inexpensive guns, which I think is a critically important category. If we want to bring more people into shooting, we've got to make it accessible to people who don't have a huge amount of income to say, pop for $1,000 single action. This gun has a safety on it, which I think is actually kind of a handy thing if you're going to be teaching kids to shoot. When this is up, this little knob right here, when it's up, gun's on safe. It's a hammer block. When it comes down, you can see a red dot right in there, e.g., it's ready to fire. So it does have that safety function. It's not particularly obtrusive. And from my standpoint, if I was teaching kids, I would want everything I could to make sure we stayed safe with it. But it's a neat gun. It's a gun that you can load up with snake shot and get rid of some garden pest if you have that issue. And it would be a great gun for maybe squirrels or rabbits or tin cans. You know, tin cans proliferate like crazy. And I certainly spent many formative years sitting in a backyard at my grandfather's place in Mississippi poking holes in tin cans. It really is a lot of fun. Now we're going to shift gears over just a little bit to a gun that's designed for something other than just fun plinking. And I was recently talking to my friends at Taurus about where guns come from and no, the stork doesn't bring them. Specifically, I was asking about this gun, the 856 Defender, which is a gun that's creating quite a stir. They are literally flying off the shelves. And I could see why. To me, this gun makes a lot of sense. Think of it as a snubby plus. Instead of a 1 7/8 or 2 1/4 inch barrel, you've got a full contour heavy barrel 3 inches. Look at this. It's got night sights on it that come with it. These are Ameriglow. It's a tritium tube there that is surrounded by a bright orange sight. And what that gives you is the best sights on a snubby revolver that I've ever seen, period. Trigger pull is smooth at 12 pounds, which is fine with me. I don't even know what the single action trigger pull is because I don't care, neither should you. 6 shots as opposed to 5 shots. So this is a gun that could serve as everyday carry. It's a gun that could serve as your bedside gun because it's really easy to shoot with 38s. A little big for a pocket pistol, but you know what? For an IWB, maybe an appendix type holster, it's perfect. So who came up with this idea? Well, you did. Taurus listened to the customers. They read the forums. They said, what do you guys want? And you guys said, a gun we can carry, a gun that can stay by the bed, a gun that's easy to shoot. 856 Defender. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the 856 Defender, and I'll tell you why I'm so enamored with the gun. Stay with us. This week's Triggered is brought to you by Franklin Armory, the home of innovation in firearms. Volquartsen, engineering the world's best rimfires. Taurus, USA, designed to protect. Arms Corps, Rock Island Armory, celebrating 30 years of innovation. And Revolution Targets, 21st century steel. Welcome back to Triggered, where we're talking about the Taurus 856 Defender, which is, of course, an extension of the Taurus 856 snub line, and that line is essentially the descendant of the Taurus 85 Snubby, which I've had a Taurus 85 Snubby for, 20 years, something like that. It's been a solid gun. One of the things that I like about this gun is that it does tread a line between snubby and a larger frame revolver. I guess you could equate this to a Smith & Wesson K-frame, say a Model 19, but it's a little bit smaller than that. Weight-wise, this particular iteration comes in at 23.5 ounces. You can get ultralight versions that are like, 16 ounces, 17 ounces, something like that. From my standpoint, you might as well get the steel and might as well have that little bit of extra weight on it. Because with a 3-inch gun, you're going to have a holster gun. This is not a pocket carry pistol. It doesn't work within a pocket carry context, but it works enormously well in a holster. I've been carrying it in a Galco Combat Master, which is kind of your baseline revolver holster, and it has worked extremely well there. When we're shooting smaller guns, there's always going to be a trade-off. I like ultralight snubbies. I have a couple of ultralight snubbies. I don't shoot them a lot. And the reason I don't shoot them a lot is they're hard to shoot. So there's this kind of interesting equation. You say, I want to get a gun that's lighter and lighter and lighter, and when you get it, you shoot it less and less and less and less. So from my standpoint, this gun is a good balance because it's easily holsterable. When I put it in the Galco holster, put the holster on my belt, you don't know it's there. 23 ounces, 23.5 ounces is really kind of a negligible amount. But you're going to know it when you bring this gun up to shoot it. That's kind of the proof in the pudding, if you will. You're shooting 38 specials. You're just running the gun. You're running the gun. And it's easy to run this gun. And it's not going to hit you that hard. I've come around in the last few months to the idea of wad cutters, 148 grain wad cutters in 38 special short barreled lightweight guns. Because there's always a question as to whether an expanding bullet is going to expand. We talked about that a little bit last week. I mean, having sat alongside Chuck Haggard as he shot numerous rounds through ballistic gelatin, I can tell you that some of the bullets that are designed for snubs don't actually open up. You're basically chunking 148, 158, 124 grains of lead that's going to drill a hole of that size. So if you're down to drilling holes, then the most important thing for you as the shooter is the ability to drill more than one hole. You want to be able to drill the holes pretty quickly. And of course, in the ammo survey that Greg Elifritz did a number of years ago, what he found out was what Walt Roush, my mentor, had told me. More is better. Being able to fire multiple shots at somebody who is intent on doing you harm and score multiple hits is far more important than shooting them with a magic bullet. Because if the magic don't work, it's going to take you longer to get the gun down and back onto target. So at 23.5 ounces, a 3-inch barrel, this gun is a solid shooter. It's easy to shoot. I've also noticed as I've shot it, trigger pull is smoothing out, which is as it should be. I mentioned earlier that I really didn't care about the single action trigger pull, and I don't. There are situations in life where you might have to cock this gun and fire it single action. But those situations are few and far between. So to me, there's not much point in trying to get this absolutely perfect 1.75 ounce single action trigger pull when the most important thing is this: clickety, 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 clickety. So all in all, I like this gun. I think it fits a niche, and it really makes sense because when you have a gun that has a lot of input from consumers understand what they need. You know what you need in a carry gun, in a gun that's by your bedside, and this works well in both of those contexts. So I don't have as many rounds through this gun as I would have in a normal world, but I feel the ammunition pinch pretty much just like you guys do. Quick story, on an airplane a few weeks ago, sitting next to a Special Forces guy I knew, the Special Forces guy asked me if I knew where he could source some bulk 9mm ammunition. And I said, you know, I was just getting ready to ask you the same thing. That's how tight it is. So, I am Michael Bain. That is this week's Triggered. We look forward to seeing you next week. If I'm not mistaken, next week or the week after is our last Triggered for the year. We always take the last 2 weeks off so we can all celebrate around the Christmas tree. You can find us on michaelbain.tv. You can find us on YouTube. And please, when you go to YouTube, there's a little button on the bottom of red. It says subscribe. Please hit that button. You can visit us on my celebrity site at everest.com. And hey, have a good week.